Thanks for listening to this episode of the Film Florida podcast. During this interview, there are multiple references to Florida legend and icon Burt Reynolds. This interview was conducted prior to Mr. Reynolds' passing on Thursday, September 6th, 2018. We decided not to re-edit the podcast and present the interview how it was originally conducted. Mr. Reynolds is a legend, an icon, and an ambassador for Florida, and he will be missed. We were all very fortunate to have had him in our lives.
Welcome to the Film Florida podcast. My name is John Lux, and I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida. Today our guest is Michelle Hillery, Deputy Film Commissioner for the Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission. Michelle, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me, John. Really appreciate it.
I wanted to start, let's go back in your career. Tell us a little bit about how you got your start in the industry.
Well, so long ago. It's been several years since I started in this industry, and it was fairly soon out of college, where I was working in the restaurant business, and I think that's kind of a prerequisite for most of us who are in the industry at this point, is many of us have worked in the restaurant business, and when you're working with people and their food, you better know what you're doing because it can turn bad very quickly. So that was my first experience working, actually, was in the restaurant business, and got married. And my sister-in-law actually found an article in our Business Development Board's profile magazine about the Film and Television Commission here in Palm Beach County, about the film industry, which at that time I really didn't know that there was a film industry here. And I had gone to school for communications and kind of saw myself being a PR person for some firm somewhere. And she pointed out this article and said, this is something that I think would be really great for you. So I took the initiative, picked up the phone, and actually found out that there was an internship program for people like me who were kind of feeling around for what I wanted to do when I grew up. And came in and interviewed with Chuck Eldred, who is still today the film commissioner. And for those of you who know him, I just let him do all of the talking, and he hired me as an intern. Well, actually, I volunteered as an intern because it was a no-paid position. And I worked for 3 months here and learned so much about the industry and what was going on. I was amazed with the productions that were taking place right down the street from where I lived and all over the county, and lo and behold, the position became available. And I applied, and I've held pretty much every position here in the office over the 20 years that I've been here now. They never actually was able to get rid of me after I interned here. So that was kind of my start here at the Film Commission.
So when you first started, how many people were in the office in Palm Beach?
Yeah, we were pretty small at that time period, and Film Commission had really just started a few years prior to me coming on board as an intern. We had probably about 3 full-time employees, and we had a location manager who was a contractor who would come in and help us with locations. And back then, locations was done very differently than how we do locations now. We used to actually go out, physically take photos, and develop them at 60 minutes. This was even before panoramic images came out, so we would be taping taping regular photos together, panoramic style, on legal manila folders and labeling them, sending them out FedEx to our clients with a return FedEx package, and ask them to return those location photos back to us after they were finished looking at them. So permits were done by hand. It was before we had the Internet, actually, and we've now grown considerably to where we have 10 full-time employees here at the Film Commission.
So at that time, no email, probably very early stages of fax machines, maybe?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
With the rolling paper?
Yes, glossy.
So I know, Michelle, in your time at the Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission, you've been heavily involved with the Student Showcase of Films. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. The Student Showcase of Films is very near and dear to my heart. I have been working on this since I started here at the Film Commission. I can recall the first time ever going to the Student Showcase of Films and seeing about 50 students in the audience and Chuck Eldred up on stage actually writing notes on a napkin in a bathroom. And we have turned what is now the largest statewide film competition, an award show here in the state of Florida, into something that's absolutely magical. We're in 23 years of the Student Showcase of Films. It happens every April of each year. And this is a statewide competition for high school and college students to submit work in different categories. We have judges from all over the world. We actually had 43 of them this year. And those judges review the various categories and score them. And then what we're doing this year is we are acknowledging the finalists in each of the category, only to announce the winners the day of the actual event. So we're expecting over 800 in attendance from high school, college students from all over the state. We have celebrity presenters that come in. Of course, Mr. Burt Reynolds is our hometown hero here and legend who will be presenting the Burt Reynolds Scholarship Award. We also have Film Florida, who presents the Sarah Fuller Scholarship Award. We have Vanilla Ice, who has, this will be his 5th year, and we are actually renaming our Music Video Award after Mr. Rob Van Winkle for his dedication and support for the Student Showcase of Films. So we've actually given over $1.6 million in awards and scholarships and awards to our winning student filmmakers. And many of them are still working today in this industry, very successful still in the film and TV industry.
Now, I know as the industry has evolved over the years, the Student Showcase of Films has evolved too, in terms of it isn't just awarding traditional film projects anymore, correct?
No, we are, the money actually goes to the schools in most cases to help purchase equipment and update equipment. You know, we saw many years ago that many of our schools have some kind of a film and TV program, but there is not a lot of money for the upkeep and continued advancement of technology. So what we do is we write the checks back to the schools, and the school actually has the opportunity to either write a check back to the student or team of students who did that project, or it goes right into the coffers to where they're able to upgrade their equipment and put it into the program. So, you know, we look at this as a give back to our community. We also look at this as an opportunity for us to mentor our students and to make sure that they can remember where it was that they got their start. And I can't tell you how many times we get phone calls from these students that say that they want to come back and do a project here because they remember the Student Showcase of Films and all of the support that they were given here in the state of Florida and here in Palm Beach County.
I know you said you have been involved with the Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission for about 20 years. I know you've also been involved with Film Florida on a volunteer basis for a number of years. How did you get started with Film Florida? And talk a little bit about your experiences with the organization through the years.
Sure. I'm a huge fan of Film Florida, and yes, I've been involved for many years on the board and then also as president for a couple of years. And I came up through the ranks of some amazing leaders, including our own film commissioner, Chuck Eldred, who actually was the first president of the organization, Jeff Peel from Miami, Ed Stam, Jennifer Pennypacker, Todd Rubin, Leah Sokolowski, and now, of course, we have the world-famous Bonnie King from Space Coast. So I've certainly been in good company. And the organization is the only statewide organization that works collectively on so many different levels with our many film commissions. I mean, a lot of people don't know we've got close to 50 film commissions that are here in the state of Florida working in the various regions. And we work with our industry and associations, and we work together collaboratively on marketing efforts, and recruiting efforts, and certainly on legislative efforts, which we didn't have to do that years ago. But now, as we know, what we're dealing with here in the state of Florida has certainly leaned a great deal towards the whole legislative efforts in making sure that the state of Florida continues to be relevant in this industry. So Film Florida has a huge impact on so many different levels, and I've been proud to be a part of it.
So you were president of the organization from 2014 to 2016. What were some of the initiatives that you wanted to bring to the organization, or things that you're most proud of from your time as president?
Yes, I was, John, and I was very proud and still am proud of my time with Film Florida as in leadership. And there's about 4 things that I'm tremendously proud of that I feel that I've left with the organization, and certainly one of them was governance, and including, while Film Florida had a great reputation, I wanted to include some governance and some good policies and procedures, and we created things like agenda packages and organization and collateral and a marketing branding strategy. We rebranded the organization during that time period. As a matter of fact, I believe that you helped create the new look and image of our logo and many of our collateral pieces during that time period. I also felt it was important. Our legislative efforts were very much, we needed to do more, and we had some great efforts that were being made, but we had to even go deeper, and we ended up hiring Sarah and Slater, which I feel was a great movement forward with their connections and their strategies, and I'm very proud of the work that we've been able to do with their organization moving forward. Also, John, I believe that we brought you on board during that time period. Am I correct?
And that is correct, yes.
And something I'm most proud of. The leadership had talked many years about bringing on an executive director onto the organization, and this was an opportunity for us to bring someone on board who was very dedicated to what this organization was doing. The timing was right, and certainly the skill set was there, and I could not be more proud of what it is that you have done with this organization over the last few years. Membership was lagging, and it's a full-time job to lead Film Florida, and on a volunteer basis, us as film commissioners who had other full-time jobs, it was something that we needed to go in this direction and to hire a full-time executive position that could really lead and grow the organization, and that's exactly what we've been able to do with you.
Thanks. So going back to your role now at the Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission, as we've talked about the industry evolving and changing over the years, and of course, Florida is no different. So how has the industry changing over the last couple of years for you in Palm Beach County? What have you guys done to evolve with that changing of the industry?
Yeah, we've definitely evolved since we first opened back in 1989, and that was pretty much when this film office was a permitting office. I mean, all we were doing, and this is before my time, but all the office was doing was facilitating permits to take place. And it was in 1991 where we actually started, where feature films were really a priority, but we expanded our role as a film liaison to include television as well. So that was something that, back when we first started, we were about a $15 million industry. We grew in 1996 to about a $54 million industry, all the way up to where we are now, which we actually are able to wrap our arms around over $200 million in production revenue that's being spent here annually. By both our visiting production companies who come here and also our indigenous production community as well. So as you can see, it's definitely grown by leaps and bounds. And we knew that over time we would need to evolve. I mean, we've seen a lot of film commissions that have shrunk in size, or that is a one-person liaison office, and where we have done things that probably are not being done in other film commissions. And certainly one of those things in which we've done over just the last few years, ever since we lost our state incentive program, we wanted to continue to be relevant and also make sure that we were generating new business. We've got a great track record for returning business because of the service that we provide and the ease of permits and the film-friendly community, and of course our beautiful weather and diverse locations help with all of that. But we knew that we had to do something that was even more different than what others are doing. And we created what we call the Development and Sponsorship Program. And this was done for a couple of different reasons. This is a program which we are actually generating production to take place here in the county. And this production would be considered tourism-branded programming that positively brands Palm Beach County as a destination. And so we're working hand in glove with our sister agencies, being our Discover the Palm Beaches, Sports Commission, the Cultural Council, which is our beach renourishment organization. And we are sponsoring programming that is mostly right now being done by many of our local production companies that have distribution in place. So these television shows that we're sponsoring are being shot here, and they're filming many of the assets that we have here in Palm Beach County, such as birding adventures. Is a great example of one of the shows that's being done here. Believe it or not, there's a lot of bird watchers out there that go all over the world to watch and study birds. And we have apparently a unique groupings of birds that are here in Palm Beach County, and we were able to do a complete show about that. Again, something that brands and generates tourism. Travels in Tradition with Burt Wolf on PBS. They've got 10 million. They're in 10 million homes. We've done a couple of shows with Burt Wolf about Palm Beach County here. And we even created our own signature series. It's a half-hour TV show called On the Town in the Palm Beaches. It's in 6 million homes, and it airs on PBS, South Florida PBS. And that's a show that is hosted by our very own Frank Licari. And we've done it in various areas of Palm Beach County. We're highlighting the Glades area. We highlight Delray Beach and Boca Raton and show all of the things to do and the little gems that are there that even us who live here on a regular basis, it's really opened up our own eyes, and it generates us as being tourism ambassadors as well. We've now taken this content that we've generated over just the last 3 years, and we are now launching Palm Beach County's first, their own TV channel called the Palm Beaches TV. And the plan is to have this channel in every one of our hotel rooms, public places, the airport, even our hospitals and waiting rooms, for our visitors to see, even for us who live here to be able to watch and see. So it's a very exciting time here for us at the Film and Television Commission.
And what's the long-term plan for Palm Beaches TV? I mean, do you guys, is it going to be available on cable outlets and streaming services so people worldwide can get it?
Yeah, you can actually pull it up now. It's the palmbeaches.tv. And it is live streaming right now. It's on Roku. And the long-term plan, and we're in a soft launch right now, but the long-term plan is to continue to include content on this TV channel. Right now we have about 8 straight hours of, and this is not YouTube videos. This is high-quality, family-friendly entertainment. And it's all shot beautifully here in Palm Beach County. We're utilizing our local production companies here, which is beautiful because, we obviously want to generate more business for our own communities, and this is a way for us to generate business. We've got some very talented people right here in our own backyard, and I'm sure you've seen where either a CVB or a government official will hire a company from outside, let alone outside your own community, outside the state of Florida, to come in and to do some of these promo some of the promos that they do for them. They're either their campaigns or their commercials. And what we're doing is we're showcasing our own local talent right here and the diversity of that talent that we have.
You guys are doing something strictly for Palm Beach County, but as we work in a global industry, there is that fine line between the competition that you have with your neighbors, either to the south or the north or the west of you in counties, versus working with them on specific projects, be it film, television, promos, those kind of things. How do you manage that where you have to work together, but at the same time there's a level of competition where, of course, you want to get the most amount of business as you possibly can for your county? So how does that work?
I think Florida has been successful over the years because we do all work so well together. Yes, while it is a competition and you want to recruit as much business to your area as possible, there is a lot of business that we're doing together. We'll have a project that will land in Fort Lauderdale or Miami, but they're coming up here and they're filming 3 or 4 or 5 days. There may be productions that land here in Palm Beach County and are utilizing one of our 12 sound stages, but they need to get a day in Miami. And so we absolutely work together as colleagues. We share information. If we ever have questions about a particular production company or concerns, we are constantly talking and sharing information. Best practices is part of what I think all of us strive to make sure that we're working in collaboration and unison when we're representing the state of Florida and, of course, within our own regions.
So not necessarily projects that you've collaborated on with other counties, or it could be, for instance, but just give us a couple of examples of some of your more memorable projects that you've been involved in since your time at the Film Commission.
Well, I get that question a lot, and it's funny because I date myself when I tell the story about Bad Boys 2. I mean, we've had so many amazing projects that have utilized Palm Beach County as a backdrop, but Bad Boys 2, I have to say, is still my very favorite. And I as I'm looking here in my office and I see the articles here on my wall about that incredible experience that we had here with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence and the house that they ended up utilizing for the largest special effects scene in the film. And it's funny, back then I was production coordinating. And in this business, John, you just never know what kind of call you're going to get. And I think that's what I love about being in this business is I don't think I would do well as a full-time accountant because you're doing the same thing on any given day. And that's what I love about working in this business. You just never know what kind of phone call you're going to get on any given day. If someone wants to jump a car off of, our pier into the sand, someone wants to take an elephant and walk them down the beach and, for some type of a commercial, or they want to land, one for a project we ended up putting up all 3 bridges that lead to the town of Palm Beach at one time and had to halt traffic for a good 20 minutes. You just never know. And Bad Boys 2 was one of those projects where the original call that I received from them, they wanted to scout Mar-a-Lago and the Breakers Hotel. And, I just kind of chuckle a little bit, especially now when I tell that story, because you never know what, Mr. Trump would allow there. And certainly the Breakers is a very prestigious hotel and are very cautious about what they do over there. But I happen to know about this particular house in Delray Beach. The owner of the property actually called us up. His name was Eric Cherry, and said, apparently how the story goes is one of the heirs to Coca-Cola started building this 30,000 square foot house, and there was an attempted kidnapping of their 7-year-old son, so they decided that they no longer wanted to live in the house. So they couldn't get the money that they wanted to for the house, so they just decided to split the 3 parcels of land that the house was sitting on, and they sold 3 parcels of land to 3 separate homeowners. And Eric Cherry was the middle landowner where the house was sitting. So he called and said, I don't know if you have any kind of a project that's looking to I don't know, blow a house up, let us know, because we happen to have this house that we have to demolish before we can build our own homes. Who knew? Here comes Bad Boys 2. And so I suggested that we go over, take a look at the house, in which they did. Month later, they had a contract on it, and like I said, we did the largest special effect of the entire film at that house, which was quite amazing. So I had some of the most productive and large meetings I've ever had to coordinate to do those special effects, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the stories behind the stories are always fascinating with some of these projects, and that's a great story about how that all came to be.
Just a little side note on that is the city of Delray Beach had a fire chief who wanted to have his own consultant, because we literally had about 100 pyrotechnicians who were part of this special effect that was going to happen. And I don't know if you've ever known someone who you can't really get a reading on them. And the fire chief at the time was someone who I had arranged these big meetings with, with and with we had aviation, and we had police, and we had paramedics, and the whole 9 yards. Every suit that you could imagine was in the room. And little did I know that this fire chief was pretty excited about having something like this in his city at the time, because he's someone that you can't read, very straight-faced, can't read them. And so the day of one of the special effects, where we actually took a Humvee and ran it through the window and front door of the house, a piece of that Humvee fell off and landed on the the fire chief's car. And I thought, oh, we're done. This is never going to happen again here. And little did I know that he drove around with that dent in his car for I can't tell you how many months, so proud, and had a story to tell after the fact, because this, little did I know, was really a police chief dream to have something like this in their city. So it was kind of fun.
Earlier, you had mentioned two gentlemen, and I know, for those of you who don't know, you have a wonderful relationship with both Burt Reynolds and Vanilla Ice that go back many years. So for those that don't know you well and don't know the story, tell us a little bit about those two gentlemen, because on the surface, they seem like completely different individuals, and I'm sure you have some great stories about both of them.
Well, we're very fortunate here in Palm Beach County to have many celebrities call Palm Beach County home. And, of course, that's where the relationship had started with both. Burt has been a longtime resident here for many, many years and loves his home here in Palm Beach County. And we've had the privilege of working with him to give away his Burt Reynolds Scholarship every year during the Student Showcase of Films. And there was a few years that we were giving away a scholarship in his name, and he wasn't part of the Student Showcase. And I want to say maybe 15 years ago, when we did get him to come to the event, he was completely blown away about what it was that we were doing, and he's been to everyone ever since. Burt is an amazing person who gives back to his community. He still teaches to this day, which is absolutely incredible. He has such amazing followers here, and one of my greatest achievements that I was able to do during the Governor's Conference on Tourism was I was able to award him the Film Florida Tourism Legends Award, and it was one of the highlights of my career, being able to present him with such an award to give back to him for all that he's given to Palm Beach County and really to the state of Florida for the legacy that he will definitely leave behind here, and we could not be more proud to have him call Palm Beach County home. So Burt is a good friend of ours. And as far as Vanilla Ice, it's funny. He's lived here for several years as well, and it took me a few years to get Rob to finally say yes to coming to the Student Showcase of Films. I would get the typical management, he's out of the country, he's on tour, and I don't know what happened, but I got him to say yes one year. And he showed up at the Student Showcase, and I had a limousine waiting to bring him around to the red carpet. It was his first time meeting, and small talk, and I said, well, I've got this limousine here waiting for you to bring you around to the red carpet. And he looks at me and he says, Michelle, he goes, I'm not big on limos. He goes, it's just not my style. And so I swallowed real, like, oh, gosh, what am I going to do? And I said, well, why don't we walk around? He's like, yeah, it's a great idea. So here I am with Vanilla Ice walking around the Lynn University at the Wall Performing Arts Center. And we walk all the way around to the front of the house and walk the red carpet. And I think he was sold at that moment. And this will be his 5th year. And he's done so much. He as well. He's done so much for our community. I was just with him at the Mayor's Ball, and he gave back to the Children's Coalition, donated a VIP set tour of his Vanilla Ice project that he's filming here in Palm Beach County, 8th season. He's also very engaged with the community, gives his time generously. So another just good guy to have here in the county.
You're right. Both of them, very, very lucky to have them in the community and in the state of Florida, and not only what they do for our industry, but like you said, for the entire community. So that'll do it for this episode of the Film Florida podcast. Thanks to Michelle Hillery for joining us, and thank you, of course, for listening. To learn more about the Palm Beach County Film and Television Commission, you can visit pbfilm.com, so that's pbfilm.com. And, of course, to learn more about Film Florida, you can go to filmflorida.org, and be sure to like and follow our pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much for joining us.